And welcome back. With this video, we will talk about the articles in Italian, more specifically, those articles that go with singular nouns. All right, so let me make myself a little bit smaller as usual here. And let's click on this button here in order to start my presentation, my slides. So, in Italian, just like in English, and this is very important, remember that there are two types of articles. Let's take a look at these two sentences here. I want to buy a house and I want to buy the house that you see over there. What is the difference? If I say I want to buy a house, I'm generically speaking about a house. Doesn't matter which one, right? It's a generic one. But if I say I want to see the house that you see over there, my friend, maybe I'm walking the street with a friend of mine and say, oh man, love the house. I want to buy the house that you see over there. That's different. That's a specific house, the house that we are seeing from this side of the sidewalk, for instance, right? Well, there's only one side of the sidewalk, but you get my point. So to sum up, in English, you guys have the article a or an when the following word starts with a vowel, such as an anchor. But anyways, when the article is a, it's a thing, not specific, general term. But the article the is the thing, a specific one. There is something that defines it. For instance, the fact that we're seeing the house that I want to buy over there, that direction or somewhere. Okay, so we have these two families of articles in English and as well as in Italian. Now, in Italian, we call these two families this way, and I will not write it down. I will ask you to write it down right now, the names of these two families of articles in Italian. Yes, we haven't talked about pronunciation yet. We haven't talked about sounds in Italian yet. I don't care. I want you to mess it up big time. I don't care. Try, according to the stereotypical knowledge that you have of the Italian language or maybe some previous studies, I want you to try to type down the names of these two families of articles. Okay? The family of the article, the equivalent of the article a, it's called indeterminativo. Indeterminativo. One more time. Indeterminativo. Just one word. Indeterminativo. The family of the equivalent of the, which we're going to see in a minute, is family of articles determinativo. 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 Okay? Got it? Written down? Awesome. Let it sink. We're going to ignore it for a second. Well, for a few videos, to be honest, because pronunciation and all those kind of things are not very relevant, at least not for now. But it was just a quick exercise that I wanted you to go through really quickly. Okay, anyways, this distinction, I hope it's clear. Specific thing, the in English, a random thing, a. In Italian, it works this way. So let's take a look at the family of articolo indeterminativo, the generic one. If the noun we are introducing is singular masculine, the article is un. If the noun we are about to introduce is feminine, it's going to be una. Generically speaking. Okay, there are a few exceptions that we're going to see in this very video in a couple of minutes or so. Okay, so I want to buy a house. House is casa, ends up with a. It's feminine, and in fact, its article is una. Una casa, a house. Forget about what is written in front of it, the verbs. We will see them in the next few videos. Okay, just focus on this. We're talking about a house. House is casa, which is feminine, regular, no weird exception. Ends up with a. Like you know, it's straightforward feminine, and in fact, the article is una casa. A house, una casa. I want to buy an apartment. Apartment is appartamento, which is straightforward masculine, and in fact, it's un. Okay, una, feminine singular, un, singular masculine, or masculine singular. whatever you want to say it. Okay, I don't mind. I use this formula, but it's up to you. You can also say masculine singular. Up to you. Although I would suggest it to stick to just one label. Okay, I usually put the number first and then the gender, but it's up to me in this case, or in your case, it's up to you. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Okay. Now, do you remember? And I hope so, that in the previous video I told you that there is at least a big exception in Italian when it comes to gender and number, which was the exception of those nouns that in singular ends up with e, and in plural ends up in e. A singular, e plural, and you cannot really tell if it's, for instance, in the case of those that end up with a, you cannot really tell if it's singular masculine or, for example, or standard plural feminine, right? Plural feminines usually end up with a, so you cannot tell unless you have the article. So let's take a look at this next slide. Still working with uno, una. Now we have the word dottore, which is one of those weird ones because it's singular, and I just trust me, that's the case. It's masculine because the article is un dottore. The feminine version of dottore, for the record, is dottoressa, which is straightforward, regular, ends up with a, dottoressa. But the masculine, for whatever reason, has to do with Latin, for the record. It's dottore, and as a foreigner, you cannot really tell the gender unless you know the article, because that's an exception that ends up with a. Now, trust me, the article is un, because trust me, dottore is masculine. Okay? Am I a doctor? Devo vedere un dottore. This is a tricky situation. Situation is situazione. Situazione ends up with e. We are not sure about the gender at this stage, but we're getting to the next level, and I'm telling you, trust me, that the article that goes with situazione is una, which means that yes, situazione, my friend, is feminine. Okay, that's the importance of articles. Okay, let's move on here. Let's talk about the family of article called determinativo. Okay, the, okay, something specific. Okay, if it's singular masculine, the article is going to be il. If it's singular feminine, the article is going to be la. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. I want to buy the house that you see over there. Like we said, house is feminine, it's casa, straightforward, feminine, so it's going to be la casa. Now let's take a look at the second example. I forgot to put it in green, my apologies, but anyways, I must buy the ticket I saw yesterday. Ticket is biglietto, straightforward masculine, ends up with o, and in fact, its own article is il, which is singular masculine, right? Let's go to the next slide. And here we are seeing this, a few words that we're already seeing, those that are a little bit tricky, exception. The doctor says it's just a cold. Il dottore. We've seen already that dottore is masculine, and in fact the articolo determinativo is il dottore. This situation is difficult. We already seen that situation at this point is feminine, and in fact it's la. Why are we using the determinativo here? We are not saying the doctor that I told you about is Mike. No, but when we're saying the doctor, we are talking about our own doctor, probably. It's a specific one, okay? Like even here, this situation, not a generic situation, but this specific situation we are dealing with right now, a specific one. Overall, to simplify, when in English you use a or an, we goes with un and una in singular. When we are dealing with the, pardon me, it's either il or la, according to general rules with singulars. Okay? Now, let's take a look at exceptions. So, at least for now, let's stop here. Let's focus our attentions on these exceptions. On the left, you will see exceptions with masculine gender, and on the right with feminine. Masculine. If the masculine word starts with sc SP, ST, or Z, depending upon where you come from, either West, even Europe or the States or Australia, Canada. You get my point. The un article becomes uno, and the il article becomes lo. Why is that? Just because it sounds better. Ad esempio, you will see in the next slide, if I'm not mistaken, but the word scoglio is uno scoglio, just because un scoglio, it's tricky for us. Okay, maybe for you it's everything is tricky at this stage, but trust me, it works this way. Okay, so when a word starts and it's masculine and starts with SC, SP, ST, or Z, so sk, sh, sp, st, z, or Z, it's uno or lo. If the masculine starts with a vowel, the il article becomes L apostrophe. Okay, we'll see this in a minute. Now let's move on to the right side. If the feminine word starts with a vowel, la, pardon me, there is a mistake here, la. Okay, let me fix it right away so you visualize it. La becomes L apostrophe, so there is the same deal here. And then una becomes un apostrophe. Do not, this is a huge mistake. Let me make it big here. If a masculine word starts with a vowel and you want to use the article indeterminativo a, so un, do not throw the apostrophe. It's a mistake. It's one of those exercises that kids in primary school do or are supposed to do. I don't know. I used to do it back in the day. I don't know nowadays, but it's a mistake. This apostrophe thing works with determinativo, L apostrophe, doesn't work with indeterminativo, and it works with the feminine. Okay, so anyways, follow the scheme that you have right in front of your eyes right now. Okay, now let's do some examples. On the left side, the masculine, uno scoglio. Lo scoglio is the determinativo. Uno scemo, indeterminativo. Lo scemo. Uno specchio, lo specchio, with double C for the record. Uno stronzo, lo stronzo. Uno zio, lo zio. Un albero, l'albero è l'apostrofe. If we take a look at the feminine, un anatra, l'anatra. Un'ellissi, l'ellissi. Un'idiozia, l'idiozia. Un'oca, l'oca. Un'uscita, l'uscita. I wonder what happened, but this is T. My bad. Okay? Now, don't stress about the meanings of these words. I don't want you to focus on this. It's completely irrelevant. Okay? Don't even start thinking about translating these words. Okay? At least not for now. Now that we're done this, guess what? It's your turn. So you have this list of words. Tell me the both articles, singular, determinativo, and indeterminativo, based on what you see. For instance, dinosaur, which is clearly dinosaur, it is what? It is masculine, right? I'm helping you here. So I want you to write the two articles that goes with a dinosaur and the dinosaur. Okay, I want to pet a dinosaur. And the dinosaur that I saw yesterday in the park was a velociraptor. Okay? You know which articles I'm talking about. So do the same thing for these other words. Again, don't Google the meanings. It's irrelevant. It is just an exercise to make you have you familiarizing with genders, numbers, well, in this case, just gender and their own articles. But when you see words with final E, okay, which are abete, televisione, confusione, moglie, and lente, you don't know exactly which article to pick, right? This is when I tell you the gender. Okay? Abete is masculine, so you will need to throw the right articolo indeterminativo and determinativo now that you know that abete is masculine. Televisione is feminine. Remember, all these are singulars, right? We haven't talked about plural yet, so it doesn't really matter. Confusione is feminine, so televisione is feminine, confusione is feminine, moglie is feminine, and lente is feminine. You might be thinking, what I mean is, does it mean that majority of the singular words that end up with a are feminine? No. And I made this list using majority of feminine words on purpose, just to say this, so it's gonna stick in your mind. Do not fall into the trap of thinking that majority of words that end up with a are feminine. That's not true, right? You have to know the gender and, of course, the article. So if you don't know the gender, you must pay attention to the article. Okay. Why is it important, this whole gender thing? You will see very soon when we talk about adjectives. Right. And that's pretty much it. Please do this exercise, and I will see you in the next video.